Okay, we're on page Ayin Vav, a new Torah, Shivas Nefesh. I want to thank, first of all, the Chaver from Meridian. And also, one of the Chaverim was sponsoring Le'ilu Nishmas Esther Tova, Bas Eliezer Ben Yom Nakoin, and the Shom Shav Galiyim, Shalom Simcha Nachis and Bracha. Okay, so on page Ayin Vav, how you read the Bishvil Shli Yischadish. Okay, this is an avodah that we've already spoken about earlier in the Sefer, but in every one of these Torahs there's a tzad of a chiddush, of something different and something new. In the world of Rabbi Nachman. So this is from Torah Reish Samach Aleph. Page Ayin Vav. K'shenoifel Adami Madregoso. Thank you so much, Yosef. When a person falls from the madrega that he or she was on, there's a nefila, whatever that is, doesn't have to be anything dramatic, but there's a nefila. Yeda. Now these words are going to appear to those who are not familiar with the Svarim HaKadoshim. It's going to appear a little bit unusual. But for those who have been learning this Svarim, it's not something that they haven't seen. Yeda shemina shemayim hu. So Rabbi Nachman says that when a person has a nefila from the madrega that he or she was on, the person should know that it's mina shemayim. Now, obviously, that could be terribly misunderstood, and if it's told to the wrong person, then, or at the wrong time, if it's told to somebody that's not familiar with what this means and doesn't understand it, then that could chalila be used as a license to do aveirus and to say, well, it's all min hashamayim. This is not what you think I'm having a nefila. It's true, I am having a nefila, but it's not me. Hashem made me do this. Now, obviously, that would be denying one's own one's own free choice, and would be undermining his entire Yiddishkeit. So we have to understand a little bit more what this means. But again, something we've spoken about in the past, we've learned together. The person should know. We'll learn more about this in the commentary. It's min hashamayim, that the nefila is min hashamayim. Hisrachakus hu tachlis hiskarvus. Rabbi Nachman says that being distant is for the tachlis of becoming closer. One could say that read it, the hisrachakus is tachlis hiskarvus, that the ultimate hiskarvus, the ultimate closeness to Hashem, comes through a person being far away. Al-Kain, therefore, no fal kadeshi is eira yoyser l'skarv l'Hashem esbarach v'atzaso. Since being far away is the ultimate opportunity to become closer than ever before, therefore a person has fallen, because the tachlis of him falling is because it's time for him to push harder to get closer. It's time for him l'hiskarev. Shiyaschel michadash. It's time for this person to begin a new avoda. He's sitting too long in that same place, that same madrega. He's there for too long, and something happens that comes min hashamayim to shake him out of that complacency that he's sort of settled into in his avoda, where he thought that he is already reached a certain plateau, and he is where he needs to be. So then one of the ways that Hashem brings us closer to him is by pulling out the carpet from underneath you, or the rug, whatever you call it, by the person suddenly experiencing a nefila, which, again, Hashem knows his chevra. That means that this person is capable. He might not use his choice in the right way, but he's capable of using this as an opportunity to reevaluate his life, to look again at his life, and to begin again, to be an Oved Hashem. You need to begin again, to make an effort to grow. Where he was becoming settled, and he felt that, well, I'm ready at this point, and I'm not going to from here. I'm not going to slip. This is ready to my madrega, and I'm comfortable in this madrega. And I'm not worried about the things I used to worry about when I was younger, or when I was doing things that I shouldn't have done. I'm safe now. Everything is okay, and I'm settling here in this madrega. This is my place. So Kadosh Baruch has a way of saying, no, it's not. The place that's reserved for you is much higher than the place that you're in. And in order for you to begin climbing again, and to feel the need to climb, to feel the need to find yourself, to begin, to work. One of Hashem's most powerful methods of bringing a person to a place of his chachas is by taking away your madregas. By taking away your madrega, the madrega that you're on, by pulling it away from you. Not to take away from you responsibility, just the opposite. To renew the sense of responsibility inside of you. To bring a new sense of responsibility. Sometimes to start from Aleph. But the whole tachlis is karvus. The whole tachlis of being far away is to come closer than ever before. And even again, it's always good to try to understand with the marshal of our lives that we see, even in a relationship between good friends or husband or wife or siblings. One should see his shvachakus as tchilas and tachlis his karvus. That if something has come between these friends, or if something has come between this husband or wife, or the kids, or whatever it is, and there's a hisrachakus, and as a result of that, there's a distance. They have fallen. In other words, there's a nefila from the madrega of being a brother, a friend, a spouse. There's a nefila from that madrega. The tachlis of that it came in Hashemayim. And the tachlis of that is that there should be more hiskarvus than ever before. Because the whole point of hisrachakus is hiskarvus. And therefore we even see by Shuas, by Maimon HaSinai, that there was a hisrachakus, as vayamad mirachok. And the whole tachlis of that was that there should be hiskarvus. And we knew Hashem gave the Torah and held the mountain over our heads. And so the whole matzav we were in was a matzav where it was a strange mixture of hisrachakus and hiskarvus. And then afterwards we fell by the Chet Egel. And what was the tachlis of that? The tachlis of the Chet Egel was the hiskarvus to come to a Mishkan, to come to a Beis HaMikdash, to come to Yerushalayim. It's a tachlis. But the way that it often works with us is that unless there's a nefila, unless there's a hisrachakus, there won't be any push towards hiskarvus. The person just gets lazy and stays there, and assumes that I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm safe over here. And Hashem is telling you, no, you're not safe. You're not safe anywhere. And what you thought that you reached a certain madrega, and that now you're in a safe place, and you're never going to ever leave this madrega. Hashem in a second can bring you to another place, can bring you to a place that's even chas v'shalom lower than you ever were before. Not because he doesn't love you, but because he wants it to be a new hiskarvus. Obviously, it's very easy for a person to interpret the hisrachakus as rejection. That's our bechir. People do that in marriage. They do that with friends. they'll interpret the Hitzrachakus as rejection. With human beings, it can be. Sometimes the person just has rejected you. Things like that happen. And then you have to know when to walk away. That's also not so posh. But there is rejection in this world, even parents rejecting children. I've seen that. There is rejection. But with Hashem's Baruch, there's never rejection. And any raya you could pull out from a pasuk or from Chazal, there are 1,000 counter rayas, and one needs to learn the pnimius. Hashem says in pasuk, "La yidach meinu nidach," and that means that the tachlis is never litchot, never to push you away. All the punishments of the Torah, everything that we see in the Torah that appears to us as being a push away, is a very, very wondrous way of Hashem trying to bring us closer. How we interpret that, that's a matter of a person's own bechira. How you interpret that. And you have people who are so sensitive. The doctor tells you, it's okay, I don't want to see you for another 6 months, and you might be very hurt by that. There are people that are like that. But really, when the doctor says, I don't need to see you for 6 months, that's good news. It means everything's okay. I'm not making this up. You don't like me? I don't like you? What do you mean? Do you say you don't want to see me for 6 months? By Hashem, there's no such thing as not wanting to see us. There is no such thing as not wanting to see us. By us, there's a very common thing, not really caring too much about seeing him. That is unfortunately very common by us. So Hashem's Baruch will sometimes take himself away from us. Even more. The Tachlis, Rabbi Nachman is saying, is Alkei Nafal Kadesh Yisari Yosel is Karv Hashem is Baruch Vatzoso Sheyascha Mechodesh Lekonis Bavodas Hashem Kilu Lo Hiskal Adayin Klal Me'olam. Because Hashem Baruch wants you to start again. Kilu, it's the first day. To take the husband and wife back to Chasana, to take the parents with the child back to the time when the child was first born. There was so much ahava and so much excitement. Start again. And that's why by Maimon Sinai it says Hayom. Sivan, Hayom Boben B'Sinai. And Hayom as Ani Yeshalam. Hayom Al Vavecha. And Rashi always brings from Chazal. Kilu, this is the first day. Kilu lo Hiskal Adayin Klal Me'olam. Is that Klal God? Rabbi Nachman says, Bavodas Hashem. It's a klal gadol of Hashem to start every day again, and one doesn't have to wait for there to be in the field. One doesn't have to wait for something bad to happen or something terrible or a yerida. One of the many explanations. So we've spoken about over the years about why is it that Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak from Peshischa was called the Yid HaKadosh? One of the explanations is that because every day he felt that today he became a Yid. The Yid HaKadosh. The simcha, the excitement of being Jewish, to the Yid HaKadosh was something that was new every day. Like Kilo, I just became a Yid. A Yid HaKadosh. So the Yid HaKadosh didn't have to wait for Nephilas and Yeridas. But regular people, that this is how Hashem's Baruch fears the world, how he runs the world. So let's look at the commentary. You do a dark Shor Rabbeinu Zal. Kfishim is galim mitarch terois of Sichaisov. We know the way of Rabbi Nachman already. Shabishah sheroitz odom eskarv LaHashem's Baruch liskos la'esenim b'kedusha. When a person wants to get closer to Hashem, to be zeichet to some level, something in kedusha, or l'darge b'torah tefillah, to reach a level, a new level in his learning, in his davening, It doesn't just, Rabbi Nachman tells us over and over that person needs chizik, and that's counterintuitive. Usually when a person says, I need chizik, is when something horrible has happened, right? I need chizik. I lost my job, I need chizik. I lost this person I loved, I need chizik. I lost my mind, I need chizik. Right? So a person, usually something bad has happened. And the person is going through there's a vacuum, and he says, I need chizik. But when you enter into the world of Rabbi Nachman, we see over and over again that Rabbi Nachman doesn't only speak of chizik in that context of recuperating. He speaks about it in the context of improvement, of elevating oneself. Not, boy, I'm in such trouble, I need chizik. But rather, boy, I'm so excited, I'm trying to do something better in my life, I could really use some chizik. And that's much more a part of Rabbi Nachman's sprach. And think about the difference. Think about the difference. And I see this all the time, just with Chavra over the years, that there are Chavayim that when they come with that, they'll come with that thing or call up with maybe I could use some chizik. And there are those who I know, and it's sad, I'm not blaming them, but there are those who I know it means, something bad has happened, something sad has happened. And there are others who will come and say, and it'll be followed by, yeah, I'm trying to start a new seder in learning. We have maybe some ideas that could be helpful. I don't think I have to explain which kind of a call I prefer. I accept, I know that's part of life. And it's not just me. We all have to deal with this. But I know those who are then batting like close to 1,000 with the, boy, am I in trouble? I could use some chizik. And the others who I'm trying to do something with my life that's different and better. And it might not use the word chizik because chizik has become so associated with negative stuff. But the person will say, could you, maybe some hadracha, you have some ideas, and we'll talk about it. In Rabbi Nachman's world, chizik means this chazek to something greater. It's very consistent with the whole world of his great grandfather, Holy Baal Shem HaKadosh. It's one of those things that's most noticeable when a person has spent his whole life not learning the Baal Shem Tov, learning other kinds of svarim. And then he's first exposed to the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov. There are both kinds of chizik by the Baal Shem Tov and Talmidei Baal Shem. But this Indian of chizik as a way of aliyah to something new, something exciting, as opposed to bandaging and triage, I think they call it. An emergency, some kind of emergency procedure, an operation to get me, to save my life before I sink completely, and so on. So that's what he's saying here. When a person wants to get closer to Hashem, he needs to engage in this avodah of his chaskas. He needs to be open to his chaskas, to hear his chaskas, and to learn the darchei his chaskas. It's this person's nature when they're trying to do something better in their davening, or their learning, their mitzvahs, or in the honor of midas type is a kedusha, whatever. It's a person's nature that when they see that they're not moving, they're not growing. Again, we're not talking about bad. They're not getting there. It's not happening. They're not really moving forward. This is very, very common things for a person to give up. When this happens a few times, where you're trying to do better and it doesn't work, again, I'm not talking about that something terrible, something horrible. We're talking about that you're trying to do better and it hasn't worked. You just give up. And then there could be big yeridas. Even though you weren't really in a yerida necessarily at all. You were just not successful in your aliyahs that you wanted to. You were trying. and it didn't go. So then Hashem doesn't really want it. Hashem's not really with me. I've tried this before, it never works, and so on and so forth. All these diburim. So it's not necessarily a Yerida. It's just you're having problems with your Aliyah. But those problems that you have with your Aliyah can very, very quickly become a Yerida. Because you become discouraged and disheartened. It's very common. So Davki here, the person who's trying to have an Aliyah needs chizuk. This person is not able to move, to be mischazik and to be misgaber and to move forward in the way that we find in this form of the tzaddikim. Yesh mishma abed as his earth the tefillah the kavana. One person says, I tried having kavana by davening, it hasn't worked, so he just drops the whole thing and becomes like a regular Orthodox person. Or when it comes to learning, Lasmadis Halimud, he began this new effort at some point to learn more, to put more time into learning, to grow in his learning and so on, and it hasn't been matzliach. So he might just walk away from this. I guess, it's not for me. And it's even scarier. When the person tried to be more careful with not doing some avera, and he hasn't succeeded, so it hasn't been going so well. This project hasn't been going so well. So they just might say, forget it, just give in to that Yetzirah. It's not working. So he wanted to have an Aliyah. He wanted to do better with that, not to do that avera. So you might just forget it and just stop trying. Then you have a person whose Yiddishkeit has become altogether cold. He's frozen. And in that state, he begins to make all these mistakes in his mind. And to stop putting in even the small effort that he was putting in to warm things up. He just doesn't try anymore. Had he continued and had he persevered, it could have brought him to Hatzlach. But since it has not worked so far, so it's man's nature to walk away. We see this as a teva like that in Bechlal in life, not just with Ruchnius, it's Bechlal like that. I remember my father always wanted when there was something in the house like to put together or something like a barbecue or whatever they bought to put together. So my father always wanted me to take an interest in this. He wasn't much like that either, but he wanted to I should come there with him as a little kid and to read the instructions together. And then to build this thing, whatever it was, to build this together with him, and to have a chelik in it, it was a thing that he was hoping for. And generally, I tried not to disappoint him. I had no interest in all of these kind of things. And it was always, to me, I thought it was fascinating because, there were times that the instructions were not clear at all. Probably now they make them much better than they used to. No? See, I don't even know. That's actually the but it wasn't. There were times that, and it didn't go. My father was working on something, it didn't go, and I never saw him get like upset or frustrated. He would just say two words: Nachamal. Nachamal. That's the answer. Nachamal. And I was already like, this is no good. They messed us up, and they said it's broken. It's defective. My father would always say, there's something we didn't do right. And then it always annoyed me, to go back to the beginning. So I wanted to can't start in the middle. My father's and you have to go back to the beginning because it's off. And that's how it works. It's all a chagadi over there. If you don't And if you don't follow, and there's something that's off, so the whole thing is not good. My father was always unbelievably patient, and he would just say, "Nachamol, go back to the beginning. Take this apart and take it apart, and look at it again, and start again." But this whole Mahalican life was like that. I think with his whole life he was like that, just starting again. So, but a lot of people, when if it's not going, then you just walk away. Just walk away. And if you stay with it, it could have been with Hatzlach. It's a certain personality also that it's stronger by them. That Indian of perseverance. It isn't stronger by them. That Indian. Mushum kach. But everybody has to work on this. Mushum kach yesh tzarich b'schaskas. So here, Rabbi Nachman is not talking about some crash, something horrible. You're stunted. You're stopped. And you feel that this is where you are. And you're not going forward. And you've tried. And now you are in danger of going backwards. This person needs his chaskas, chizik. And even if this chaskas gives him a little bit more determination, a little bit more strength. A little bit more like Rabbi Nachman always say. Grab some davish b'kedusha. Do something good. Instead of sitting around thinking, I used to finish, 18 prakim of Mishnayos a day. Learn a Mishnah. Because you haven't learned anything. You stop learning. What happens to a lot of the guys Ben Azmanim? A lot of the guys Ben Azmanim is the whole Zman I was learning with Hisbodedus, and then they were off from yeshiva. Okay, a little bit so they went here, they're doing that. It's okay. It's totally normal. It's fine. They should enjoy themselves. But then, because it was ingrained in them so deeply, the union of Hisbodedus, and they heard a million talks on that, and they were doing well with it. So the bacher feels like, I didn't learn for the last 2 days. We're dragging around with the guys, doing stuff, and I didn't learn for the last 2 days. So then the rest of his man, the kid doesn't pick up a sefer. He can't pick up a sefer. No, because his way of picking up a sefer was in yeshiva is to sit and to learn for 4 hours. But now he's not in that place. That's not important whether he should be, shouldn't be. It's okay. He's off a couple of days. That's good. So he's not in that place. So his father tells him, forget about, I'm not telling you to learn a Blatt Gemara today. How about like looking at the parsha for a few minutes? See, these guys, they don't touch a sefer. They will not touch a sefer. It's not coming from a bad place. They're good. They feel that they're not good. They feel that they're not masmidim. And of course, they have all these talks ringing in their heads that they heard all this stuff. And they're not masmidim. If you'd be real masmid, you wouldn't be going on the trip with the friends. You'd be hurrying and learning. They had all this stuff. And even if they didn't get all of it, they're thinking these kind of things because they're good. They're good boys. But right now, he's not in a 4-hour Seder place. Okay, so then learn for 10 minutes. Learn a Mishnah. Open up the parsha. Learn Bimar V'Sedra. See, guys, they won't touch a sefer. Then when they're back in this month, they come in with their pile of svarim, they sit back, they get back to work. Where was the Baruch Shalom for the last 3 weeks? What was going on? What's the matter with you? It's not from a bad place. Because they feel that their disappointments to Hashem, to their Rabbi would see. So that's what he's saying. He said, Rabbi Nachman said this all the time. Grab a davish b'kedusha. Grab something. Grab a pasuk. Chumash Rashi. Grab a Mishnah. Take a minute of kedusha. So your eyes were not in the best place the last couple of days. That's bad. No. Try to this minute to be misgaber. Grab his chaskas. But this minute, don't look. No, I'm not in that zone. I've been spending the last 3 weeks looking at the wrong things. So it means it's Safal. And that's already in the field. It's already a reader. No, to be mischazik and lachtoif, to grab eze davar shebekdusha. Lachtoif eze davar shebekdusha. Loimer bracha kroy. How about that? Don't think about, hey, look at me, here I am. I was one of the biggest masmidim in the yeshiva, and now I'm sitting here like the third time this week in some restaurant, fressing on something. Instead of thinking about that, you can work on that some other time, work on that. Maybe you're eating too much or going to restaurants too much, whatever that is. But instead, why don't you try this? So you're having this thing that you enjoy, whatever it is, you're going to have this this piece of food that you like in the restaurant, in your favorite restaurant. Make a good bracha. If someone's standing over you that you can't make a bracha, on the rabbis, you like this restaurant, you enjoy this piece of meat or whatever it is you enjoy, this food. So make a good bracha. That bechlal is not a cheshbon. The same way he's not going to pick up a save, he's not going to pick up a bracha. He may make the bracha, but he's not going to pick up a good bracha. Why? Because that's for good guys. That's for the masmid. I'm not the masmid. I thought it was, but I'm not. So this person needs chizik. The person next to him, his friend should say, hey, I'm used to hearing you make a bracha out loud. I want to answer amen. That would be a good friend. Why don't you make the bracha out loud? So he says, no, it's ben esmanim, you know. I don't make brachas out loud, ben esmanim. I said, no, why can't you make a bracha out loud, ben esmanim? I'm not asking you to go over a piece of the k'tzais or something. I'm asking you to make a bracha, just make a bracha out loud. You always do. In yeshiva, I sit next to you in lunch, you always say, how do we answer amen? Make a bracha out loud. No, I'm not in that place. This is the biggest bilbul. The biggest bilbul. Instead, Rabbi Nachman said over and over, Lachtoif eze davar shebekdusha. Lachtoif eze davar shebekdusha. Grab a bracha. That's not hard. And the menu Heshmei Rabba. So, menu Heshmei Rabba. The answer menu Heshmei Rabba. All of us know you could be in shul and it's like almost silent. Or the Baltfilis Chazar Sashas. Poor guy standing up there. All you have to talk to Mishpan, he's waiting for one person to say Amen. There's usually one Jew that'll say Amen. It could be 50 people and he hardly hears anybody saying Amen. What does it take to say Amen? And you know what it is? The Swam talk about it a little bit by the Furving. We talked about Amen Heshmei Rabba the other night. What's an Amen? Amen. It's hard for you. It's Ben Esmanim. Amen sounds easy, but it's hard for me. To say Amen is hard for you. It's the easiest thing in the world to say that word. But he's not, he needs his chaskas. His chaskas. Lachtoif eze davar shebekdusha. This is very much not like most of the shmuzin that most of the guys have heard. We're lachtoif eze davar shebekdusha. Think about some of the favorite people from your past hearing that sentence. Lachtoif eze davar shebekdusha. Why don't you just take one sentence from this Gemara and learn it good? Lachtoif. Rav Shlomo Freifeld Zechus Halevacha used to make a whole scene with a guy that learned a few sentences. Rav Shlomo Freifeld learned Likutei Moharan. And now I know that because I had many conversations with him about Likutei Moharan. I'm not reading it I didn't read it in the story of Rav Shlomo. I'm telling you that conversations I had with him. He was on fire with Likutei Moharan. And Rav Kook, another tzaddik. Lachtoif eze davar shebekdusha. Lemon bracha karoi. Say a good bracha. Let's gabber ben the kudaktana neged oimek mashichas atayvus. You're in a big taiva now. Let's say for food. That's one of the less harmful things. So don't just throw yourself into it. So a little bit, to chap a little bit kedusha, a little bit less. So don't have to order the second dessert, whatever it is, a little bit less. That was to hold back a little bit. Ma'at, to hold back a little bit with an ayin, ma'at. A little bit with a taiva, to hold back. Hold back. Let's go the kuda katana neged oimik meshichas ataivas. A little bit to hold back with the oimik. But again, the person feels like, in the end, I had a whole big meal. So what about taiva? Oh, but you held back a little bit. It's already, it's a, you have a davish of kedusha. And when it comes to other things of the Yitzhara that are more harmful than a piece of kosher, food, other things. Just think, sometimes there's a conversation and there's like lashon hara flying all over the place, and you let loose with some lashon hara. So the feeling is, I'm already in the lashon hara zone, so I might as well enjoy it and just say the whole story. Imagine like you're in the middle of the story, Khalila, and you're saying some lashon hara, and then the person's they're the only ones who makabel it is also having an issue, so he's makabel it, and then you say, you just stop and you say that. And the guy said, "Whoa, you didn't get to the end of the Maisa. You didn't get to the punchline of this guy's problems or his averus or whatever it is." And you have the dom shebekdusha. But I'm not going to finish the story. I'm not finishing the story. Not with the intent to torture that your friend. I'm not finishing the story. So, Adkan, I'm done. So again, many would say that's your Balashon Hara. Oh, you didn't say the whole thing. You already said, until you got today, you already said all kinds of things about the guy. But you have to do a second of his gabras. A second of his gabras. It's gaben the kuda katana neged oimig mashiachas atayv is a gewaltige thing. The Shiurim midaigas ubelbulim lachtaf eze shiur b'Torah. Let's say you had a hard day and all kinds of daigas. You're worried about all kinds of things with work and bilbulim or about your family, about work. You're all filled with bilbulim and daigas. So you could say, I'm not gonna learn now. I'm not gonna go to the shiur. Or you could help something. We're living at a time where it's not like it used to be that you were nervous if you went to this shiur, then how are you going to get out? And it's like an hour shiur, how are you going to get out? Okay, that still could happen if you go to a live shiur, but nowadays you could go onto your phone to listen to a shiur, and I don't know if they know if you left or something. I guess if it's Zoom, they know if you left, right? But if it's a regular shiur, the shiur could have been given 10 years ago, and you're listening to the shiur, no one's going to know if you left or you didn't leave. So for a few minutes, you have to listen to the shiur. So you're not going to listen to the whole shiur. So listen for 10 minutes to a shiur. What's so you hear some divrei Torah? So you hear a few words of Torah. It's a good thing. But again, the person thinks is not. I'm going to listen to something for 10 minutes. I'm not going to go to a whole shiur. Or I'm not going to listen to a whole shiur. What's the point of listening to something for 10 minutes? What's the tachlis of 10 minutes? There is a tachlis. The tachlis, we're learning about the tachlis, is that the person is an oived, and because he's an oived, it means that he's trying to mechadish. He's still in the avodah of moving forward, even though it's a tiny step forward. And that's a completely different world to be in than the one who was let go. Because it's very common when a person sees that he didn't reach what he wanted to reach. He thought he was going to reach a certain madrega, and he didn't reach that madrega. So it's very common. It's very common that he'll just leave even a little bit that he was able to do. He'll stop doing that too. So now he's not going to learn at all. So there's a guy Ben Azman who could have had something during Ben Azman, but he sees that he tried once, whatever, it wasn't much, it didn't work out. So now he's not learning at all. So he goes for weeks without learning. I can't tell you over the years how many parents have had this. I've had this conversation with me. Like they shake their heads that my kid sits in yeshiva, paying a lot of money for him to be in this place, and he's right. He's now Israel, and he came back for Pesach, and I'm hearing all these things about he's doing this, he's making a siyum of that, he's done. We're all thrilled for him and excited, and the father comes to tell me, and a lot of times the mother too. I know the kid's home for 3 weeks. Besides the times that he didn't help with anything, he didn't do anything. He said, then the mother or the father said, I wouldn't mind if he at least he's learning. Not a safe, not to pick up a safe. So I understand. I hear that in Yerushalayim he's making his like third siyum or something, and he comes home. He says, "I don't see looking at the safe, and I'm to hold this to pick up a safe." It's a big davener. I see he's sleeping there. I have to wake him up. I have to shake him 3 times. He's not getting up for davening. All of these things, again, they come from something good, not from something bad. But the ma'at tov, that little bit of tov, is the biggest ischaskus for a person to do more and to increase his avodah. But when you walk away from something, you feel like you're completely useless. You're completely a failure. And that's a lot of the guys. I feel like I'm a total useless. And then the mother says, I didn't see you learning at all. And the father says, I didn't see you learning at all. So for this, you have to go back to yeshiva. Why don't you just get a job or something? And the kid looked at himself as being like a lo useless. If you would chap, if you be chayte for davish kedusha, something, stay in. And that's the ikiyas chaskas during that time. And somebody can look at this the wrong way and say, that's a chaskas. To be chayte for eza davish kedusha, to say a good bracha. Imagine this boy coming back to the next man, and his Rosh Yeshiva asks him, so how was it by you ben Azmanim? You steiged? And he says, yeah. Every single day I made at least 1 or 2 good brachas. Just imagine that conversation. You made 1 or 2 good brachas every day? Yeah. I'm very proud of myself. Sometimes it was 3. I made. Again, he could be fooling himself, but it all depends who he is and where he's holding. But for him, that could be a huge thing. It could be his pathway towards something unbelievably great, without which he might not even show up again in yeshiva at all. So that's what he's saying. Ubavadai, the next page, Ayin Zayin. Ubavadai, Kol Adam Yisrael Nishmasai V'Shechzo Salav Avodas HaBarei. Look, a Yid naturally is drawn to Hashem. And a Jew knows that a life without ruchnius is not worth living. It's not life. And therefore, the ikar is to try to do tshuva. Doing tshuva means to begin to return. And beginning to return could be small, whatever it is, something. Lasas mashi yesh biyada. Do something good. Stay away from something bad. But that's true. That means that you're in the parsha of tshuva. You're thinking about Yiddishkeit. You're doing something about it. What happens to people is that because they have not been successful reaching the level, being on the level that they were on during this month, whatever it is, they're not on that level, they see. So what happens is then the kriyus, and the heart becomes cold, and just leaves the whole thing. That's why we have to understand why is it that Rabbi Nachman comes back to this over and over. The darche hischaskas. Again, not just because he felt something bad. He does that too a lot. But because you're a serious person, you want to do good, you're trying to be good, and you're movement forward is being stunted by this machshava that you have not been matzliach. You need chizuk. And to use these ways of chizkaskas with everything in life. Ruchnis and gashmius. To understand that there should never ever chalila be a nefila, not to fall away and to let go and to just stop, and just to let go of yourself and to. You see this emotional, like when it comes to people dieting, it's always a very simple emotion. You see that a person was doing well and they lost a certain amount of weight and they were feeling great, and the doctor said that's fantastic, and then they had a little bit of a nefila. But then you see that this person will just abandon himself to eating. It's just crazy, worse than before. Instead, he could have held back a little bit something. You didn't have to have like 3 pizzas or 3 platters of fries or something. It's just no. I'm not. My diet has failed. My diet has failed. No, that's it. I'm finished. This happens all the time. Diet has failed. Today you ate a little bit more than you should have, or you ate the wrong things. So try not to. So don't have dessert. Nah, once I'm ready having them, because then I'm just ready. And it's pasuach lervacha. I'm already having. Why not have dessert already? And then you have a second dessert. You see how it works. Because I'm not masliach. My diet, I'm not masliach. Then you see that's why you'll see a person that looked fantastic and lost a lot of weight. Then you see him like 2 months later. It's like, whoa, it's bigger than before, much bigger than before. Okay, so now I know everybody's thinking, well, there's Ozempic, right? That's the machshava nowadays. Just get a shot. But we're talking about self-control and how to work with your Yetzer. And even though there are all these wonder drugs that are helping a lot of people, Baruch Hashem, with everything, a person needs to be about a bus over himself to have self-control. Therefore, a person has to push out of his mind whatever was until now. Push out of his mind whatever begin new, Aleph. Start again from the beginning of the instructions. Even if it's a little bit, a Mishnah, a bracha, to begin, to start. Do what you can do, but that bracha that you're making, make it with his chiyus. That Mishnah that you're learning, with a chiyus. That staying away from the Aveira, do with simcha, with chiyus. To give nachas ruach to Hashem Yisborach. And to give nachas ruach to Hashem with chiyus, with simcha. That's the biggest hischaskas that a person gives himself, without having to even hear from another person. You're your own chizik, your own hischaskas. Instead of people always to run to this one, to go to that one, to listen to that, to find some chizik someplace. Please, I need chizik. I need there's a chizik moment on the podcast, and there's a chizik second on the whatever. You be chazik yourself. Chazik yourself. And the biggest hischaskas is Lachtaif eze davish b'kedusha. Lachtaif eze davish b'kedusha. Some davish b'kedusha. But with the chiyus and with the simcha, to mitzchas. Okay, that's a good way to go into Maimon Hasina into Shuas. We should all be zeichet to have hischadus and kavos the Torah. A real hischadus, and to believe that Hashem Yisborach is giving us the Torah now. It should be with hischadus with simcha and chiyus.